I'd like to welcome our viewers to the show once again on November 3rd, 2007, this beautiful Saturday. Today, as you can see to my left, and I think to your right as viewers, is Arthur Ostering. How you doing, Arthur? And Jack is going to be joining us shortly, so he'll be joining us a little after the break that we have. So those of you who are waiting for him, and you'll get to see him today. Arthur, I just want you to just remind us and the viewers of what we have been speaking about these few past Saturdays.
Yeah, the people who are following the show, consistently. Last week we dealt with what is truth, or the study of truth. How do we know that we know? And we had dialogue. Some people called a dialogue about truth. Went to things like, is truth knowable? Can we even know anything?
Okay.
Is it possible to know something? So our dealings with truth has been that, and we're actually moving forward to see what else it could, because if truth is knowable, then we're kind of responsible to know it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So are there things, even not just truth now, are there things about God that we can know? Has God himself revealed something to us that we can know? Is that possible? And today we're going to be dealing with the cosmological argument for the existence of God, which is what a lot of people would say, that when you look at the universe, you see the fingerprints of God.
Okay.
And that's truth revealed too. And last week we also dealt with, you might not be an eyewitness to something, but forensic evidence, when there's a crime scene, people go in there, they do forensics.
Right.
Because nobody saw the person do it, but they catch fingerprints and, blood samples and whatnot, and they base their conclusion on that. And we convict people and we send them to jail based on that stuff. So we tend to believe that, that's trustworthy. If we can give evidence that the fingerprints of God are on the universe, if we can give evidence that, God has left his blood, figuratively speaking, upon the universe, where we can catch it and go, okay, this is the DNA of God, then we can confidently say that, this universe was created by a God.
Yeah.
And we're not even dealing with a Christian God right now, but it was created by a God. And we'll move forward.
Yeah. What I want to remind our viewers is that Unshakable Live is a call-in show that you can interact with us. We're live in the studio right now, and the number is on the bottom, I think, right of your screen. It's 818-279-2417, extension 3. And so if you want to join us at any time in the discussion, feel more than welcome to call in, whether you agree, disagree, have a question, and always we are open to pray for people. So if you have any prayer requests, also you feel free to call in. So you guys talked about the nature of truth and how do we know things. This is a branch of philosophy that we call epistemology. And what are some conclusions or things that you presented last week to our viewers?
Okay, I think I gave the example last week of a pen. All pens, like this statement is true. And this is defined as being true. All pens have ink.
Okay.
So if someone comes and says, no, I have a pen that has lead, we're going to respond to him by saying, that's not a pen anymore, that's a pencil, or it's a mechanical pencil or whatever. Right. So one thing we dealt with truth is that if something is true, then there must be false.
Okay.
There must be that something false.
So you guys concluded that if there's something that is true, an opposing view of that truth would be considered
a contradictory
false.
View of that would be false. So if we know that this mic is here and someone says the mic is not there, now we could qualify that maybe that person is blind, but regardless, the mic is there. So if someone says the mic is not there, then they're false. Whatever they're saying is false. So we get into this understanding of, okay, now what do we do when we have opposing truths? What do we do when we have truths coming against each other?
Right. we have Jack joining us. So he just walked in late as usual. How you doing, Jack? Good to see you.
What's going on?
But so for all the viewers, Jack's here, and we're just reiterating or kind of re-going through what was spoken about last week.
Yes.
About truth, and Arthur was telling the viewers or telling us that you guys spoke about the truth is in such a way that if something is true, that if there's an opposing view or a contradictory view, that view is false.
Yes. Well, I think we dealt with the fact, as you guys said, that truth is knowable, that reality is knowable, and that knowledge is knowable. I know that seems kind of contradictory, that knowledge is knowable, but again, there are people who sometimes knowingly and unknowingly have been affected by Kantinian or Immanuel Kant's philosophy that reality is not knowable, and they don't realize it. Whenever you give them facts, whether it be historical or theological or biblical, moral, they always feel like, you know what, maybe that's just your perception. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a universal knowledge or a universal truth, because I'm using truth and knowledge synonymously.
Yeah.
So once you come to the conclusion that truth is knowable, reality is knowable, then the opposite of truth is falsehood. So if there is truth, if Jack is a human being, then Jack is not an animal. That would be a false proposition or a false statement.
Yeah, I think most people live by the basis that that truth is knowable.
Yes.
And I think most people, even if people claim that it isn't, I think that they live their lives as if it is. And I think a lot of people have a mistaken notion that in order to know something, you need to be 100% certain of that item of knowledge or whatever. You know, for example, I need to be 100% sure that something is true before I can believe it. And that's just not the way the world works. Arthur stated earlier that all pens have ink. We know that 100% sure simply because that's knowledge by definition. The definition of a pen is a writing implement that uses ink. So anything that's knowledge by definition, then we're 100% certain of that, the truth of that. But things that really matter, it's very difficult to attain 100% certainty based on those things, yet we live our lives according to these things. For example, if someone's crossing the street on a green light, they cross the street, but yet they're not 100% sure cars are going to stop. Experience and past tells us that not all the time do cars stop at red lights. As a matter of fact, I was in an accident recently where a guy ran a red light and hit me. So, but yet we still cross, we still live our lives, even though we're not 100% certain. For example, someone sits at their house, viewers are watching right now, you're not 100% certain that your house is not going to blow up right now. You're not 100% certain that someone's not going to run to your house and murder your whole family. Yeah. Yet you're not sitting there in panic and worry, going, oh my goodness, someone's going to break into my house. I need to do something and barricade myself or do something extreme to protect myself. And even if you barricade yourself, you're not 100% sure that barricade is going to protect you. You're not 100% sure an earthquake is not going to occur and that barricade fall and collapse on top of you and you're going to die anyways. So yet we live our lives even though we're not 100% sure. So I think that one thing we need to clear up with our viewers and with everyone is that, I'm sorry, the world just is not set up in a way where we need 100% certainty in order to know things.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, even if people do that stuff, like when we see people go become paranoid, and they're scared of going outside or something like that, we start defining them as not being right mentally. Yeah. But if we were to be, the thing is, if we lived, and the definition of doing something, you needed to be 100% sure to do it. Yeah. Then being paranoid would be the right thing to do. But since we don't live in a way we don't live in that manner, we don't have to be 100% to do something. We need to have good evidence. We need to have, a good understanding. Okay, I'm pretty sure from past experiences that when I cross the green light, someone's not going to hit me. Yes. But it could still happen. But if I go paranoid and go, no, I need to be 100%, that would stop me from living. Yes. Yeah.
And people are always allowed to withhold judgment and say, I don't know at this point. That's okay too. But to say that you need to be 100% sure of things is just difficult.
And I think, like you said, there's a difference between having 100% evidence for the existence of God, 100% evidence that a bird is going to fly in the sky today. You know what I'm saying? To believe that birds actually do fly in the sky. But I think also we have to make a distinction between 100% evidence, that is, there needs to be 100% proof in order to believe something, versus having a perfect premise. I think you can have a perfect premise based on inductive observation or research that something is true. For example, I can say that it's a perfect premise to say that that all humans breathe. All living humans breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've never seen a living human not breathe. Now, of course, there's that 1%. There could be a human somewhere in the universe that, that's a bad analogy. I can say that 100% that this hat is white. 100%. Mm-hmm. Perfect premise. Because I can look at the whole hat and I can build a premise on it. Now, of course, the issue with humans all breathing breaks down because I haven't observed all humans throughout history and in the universe.
That's when we get to things by truth by definition.
Yeah.
You know, when we say things like all pens have ink, that's 100%.
Yeah.
All pens for something to have ink and be a writing instrument is a pen.
Yeah.
Okay. So
if it doesn't have ink, it's not a pen.
Well, or it ran out of ink. I mean, you're going to qualify it. But if it has something else, it's not a pen.
Yeah.
You know, if you say, we use leaves or something like that, to write, then it's not a pen anymore. It's something else.
Yeah.
It's other than that. Yeah. So.
And I think where we're going with this, and if you're a viewer today and you're watching, where we're going with is if knowledge is attainable, the question is, and we're dealing with something that a lot of people raise up. Can someone know beyond reasonable doubt that God exists? And if you can know that God exists, he either A, does, because knowledge is knowable, mm-hmm. Through empirical means, or B, he doesn't. There is no such thing as God exists for you, but he doesn't exist for me. Because when you make truth statements, what you're saying is that this proposition is true. If someone argues against that, they have to basically prove their case. Yeah. And what we're arguing, who are watching in Glendale and Burbank today, that the evidence for God's existence is more weightier. It's more stacked up in the courtroom of reason than atheism. Mm-hmm. It takes more faith to be an atheist based on the evidence and through sound reasoning and through scientific methodology, that is using our five senses, to believe in a cause, even based on the law of causality, mm-hmm. for the universe, for this fine-tuned machine that is expanding and growing, than to not believe in a cause that is intelligent and sophisticated.
If truth is noble, like we're talking earlier, if truth is noble, then we're held responsible to know that truth. And I think, I honestly, what I see a lot of people is they want to run away from that responsibility.
Yeah.
That's from my personal experience.
Yeah.
I meet people that, they try to run away from this responsibility of that, okay, truth is noble. Now I'm responsible to do the research. I'm responsible to put effort in. I'm responsible to put work in. And this isn't between like Christians and non-Christians. I'm not both Christians and non-Christians.
Yes.
We try to run away from.
I don't like to call them Christians. I like to call them churchgoers.
Yeah.
or God sayers. That is, they say they believe in God, but they deny God in action. It's interesting that Paul says that basically this is not even an issue of even seeking out the knowledge. Paul argues that God has already given them some form of knowledge. And it's interesting that Paul makes a distinction in Romans 3 between gnosis, which is general knowledge, mm-hmm. and epignosis, which is a fuller exact knowledge. It's basically knowledge based on more fuller inductive research. And he says that God has given every person a general knowledge, gnosis of himself. He says the wrath of God is being revealed, Romans 1 verse 18, from heaven. And this is Paul, writing in ancient Greek, 2,000 years ago. And this, it's phenomenal how this is true today as it was back then. He says the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of human beings who suppress the truth. What truth? Look at this. By their wickedness. So he says the issue of the knowledge of God, the reason why they suppress it, and I'm kind of responding to what you said, that there's people who aren't generally seeking the answers to the questions. And it's almost as we're speaking as if this knowledge is something to be searched for. Some of it is, but some of it is self-evident. He says, since what may be known about God is plain to them. And what he's arguing is that God has already revealed through nature his existence. He says, since what may be known about God is plain to them, and he's speaking of here the whole Gentile and Jewish race, all of humanity. He says, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power, and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made. So he says, when humans look at creation, when they look at the universe, and it's something that we talk about, the teleological, they look at the design of the universe, they get a glimpse of the designer. And he says, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. He says, for although they knew God, and this word knew, it's a progressive knowledge. He's basically, in the Greek, what it means is, the word is agnosis, and it basically means that they know God through a process of events. They think about him, they watch the creation, and then in chapter 2 he'll say that the law of God is revealed on the hearts of men, that they have like these moments of conscious conviction, where they have a sense of right and wrong, because God has written his invisible law on the hearts of people, the 10 Commands. He says, for although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him. But their thinking became futile and foolish, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings and birds and animals. And I would say in our generation, if Paul was here today, and they not only exchange the nature and the glory of God for creatures within the universe, which makes no sense, but I would say if Paul was here today, he would say some even denied the very existence of God in totality. And that's where the deliberate, there's two types of atheists. There's the deliberate atheist who says that there's evidence for the non-existence of God. And then there's the ignorant atheist who's really an agnostic, who says there is no evidence, I haven't found the evidence, but if you can show me the evidence, I'll believe. So what we're arguing is that it's not even an issue of searching out the evidence, that God has already given evidence to take you to a certain place to believe in his existence. Now, the question that some people ask is, well, how do I know he's the Christian God versus the Hindu Muslim? Now, that's a whole different conversation. You can't eat the camel in one bite, you know what I'm saying? Or the elephant in one bite, Some people probably do eat camels somewhere. But again, that's a whole different conversation. But right now we have Armenians, that basically say that they're atheists and that the existence of God is not credible, intelligent to believe in. And what we're saying is that it takes more faith, that is blind faith, a leap into a dark corridor or cliff, than it takes to believe in a cause, an intelligent cause for the effect of the universe. If you're someone who disagrees and you have strong philosophical, scientific evidence to prove that God doesn't exist, we'd like to hear it. Okay? We'd like to hear how through sound science, because you know what's amazing is atheists will claim, and sometimes dogmatically, okay, that the evidence proves that there is no cause for this universe, and therefore God does not exist. Christianity is nothing more than an emotional, sociological movement that helps the world out, but doesn't really have justifiable reasons to stand up.
Bottom line is, it helps humanity out, but it's not true.
Yeah. And also you have to consider that some people, we have to admit that sometimes it's a very difficult process to discover truth and figure out what is true. And some people mistake the difficulty of figuring out the truth with the fact that, with the belief that truth doesn't exist at all, because it is difficult. It takes effort. It takes time to think about. And so it's easier to say, you know what, I'm just going to side with, truth doesn't exist, because it is difficult to discover it. And also for people who say, that Christianity is just an emotional thing, in any religion in its general is just an emotional thing to cope with the universe.
Cultural thing.
Atheism,
where you grew up.
Atheism itself could be very well an emotional thing that helps you cope with the world. For example, a Nazi in a German camp who is murdering people definitely does not want to believe in a God that's going to punish him at the end. So for him to cope with, he becomes an atheist. So that's not really a great thing to talk about or argue about. But I think we were going to go into the cosmological argument today. Is that true?
Yeah, we're going to touch on that. And again, the cosmological argument is, does the universe or the world, cosmos, universe, or world, show evidence of a beginning? Because this is the issue, okay, for all you scientific Armenians watching the show. If you believe in the law of causality, which science is built on that premise, that every effect has a cause, and that's why you can observe things, and scientific laws become really things that are repeatable. If you put the object in the same situation, it's going to pretty much do the same thing. And that's how we have the law of gravity. If you put an object in the air and drop it, it's going to fall. The law of gravity does not apply outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, so we do know that scientific laws aren't universal prescriptions; they're descriptions of different things that happen consistently. But the question we're raising, and if you're watching the show today, this Guernas Programa, does the universe have evidence of a beginning? And if the universe has an evidence for the beginning, if you're a scientist and you're a thinker and you're a good philosopher, you must admit that you've never seen anything that has a beginning in this universe that didn't have a cause.
Yeah.
And that's our argument.
And we're also building our premise on that truth is not invented, but is discovered.
Yes.
Because that's the nature of truth. I mean, when Newton, discovered the law of gravity, he didn't invent it. He didn't come with it. He discovered it. It was already there.
We describe phenomena, or let me not use that word if you're from Cantinian thought, because these are actual things, not illusions. But we don't make up laws, universal laws. We can only discover them or identify them and label them. And the real question is, does the universe have evidence for beginning? And if the universe has the evidence for the beginning, then you have to deal with the fact that there was a cause. Because everything that has a beginning has a cause. You've never seen anything scientifically that overrode that principle. If you have, please call in and give us an example.
We're going to have to go to a commercial break, and then we'll be back to continue our discussion after the commercial break. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Yes, how can we help you today?
I'm calling. Oh, never mind.
Okay, this is Unshakable Live. Okay, well, I guess we had the wrong number.
Okay. Welcome back to our viewers. We thank you for staying tuned with us, where we're actually going to be talking about what's known as the cosmological argument for the existence of God. And when we say God, like Jack said, this doesn't necessarily mean the Christian God right now. That's a whole different argument. But for a being that exists, that is the cause of the universe, or things that exist. So, if you're going to call in and say, but that doesn't mean it's the Christian God. Yes, we agree with you. Well, that's a whole different topic that we'll discuss at another time. So
I want to quote Albert Einstein. Reason being is because a lot of people see science and religion nowadays, science and religion as being total opposites.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean Einstein, who's very respected in the scientific world, who believed in God, but he believed that the universe basically was God.
Yeah.
You know, but by his studies, he was kind of forced to believe in this God that supersedes our universe. But he said science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. You know, and because people in our culture, they put this distinction between them.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Einstein, who's very respected in the scientific world, wouldn't. He said actually they can go hand in hand. They support each other.
Absolutely. Because for Einstein, as for many scientists, the steady state theory, which said that the universe is eternal, Earth is eternal, was pretty much the predominant view. After his discovery of the general law of the general theory of relativity, which was basically universe is expanding, scientists were forced to admit the fact that if the universe is expanding, then it had a beginning. Welcome to Unshakable Live. Hello. All right. So they were forced to view that the universe had a beginning, because if something is expanding, if you rewind it, it means that it started from a certain point, and they basically brought that point down to nothingness. Yeah. The Big Bang Theory supports a biblical cosmology. Okay, we're not saying that it was actually in precise description like the Big Bang theorists, but the Big Bang does reinforce a biblical worldview. Welcome to Unshakable Live.
Hi. This doesn't have anything concerning what you guys are talking about, but
sure.
I'm calling the phone number and it's being forwarded to your live show.
This is Unshakable. I don't know. I'm sorry. Or maybe the previous host or company that was on this program never unforwarded their number. I'm sorry.
But the phone number is a cell phone number, so...
Yeah, I don't know.
The technician to change it or something, because we're trying to reach that person and it's coming to your show.
We have no control of that. We're on a live program right now.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
All right.
So again, that was not random chance. She dialed a phone number and it got here. So which makes me assume philosophically that there was an intelligent being behind that act. Even though I didn't see her, I didn't touch her. Welcome to Unshakable Live. See, they called again and hung up again. They are disrupting our show today.
Wow.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the cosmological argument, and that we have to assume scientifically that everything that has a beginning has a cause. And with the whole idea of the theory of general relativity, which Einstein even himself, defined it as being irritating to him because it was forcing him to believe something he really didn't want to believe.
And you know what? Right now, there's people who sit at home and sit there and say, oh, inch asfadsga. Babanergan vor alang panergasen. But yet they have no justification for their belief. Let's pick up this line. We're always going to give the callers
benefit of the doubt.
Hello?
This is a call for...
Welcome to Unshakable Live.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good. How's it going today?
Good. I just want to know, did you guys hear lately that they made a discovery that throughout tracing DNA and chromosomes and all that scientifically, they're just able to prove that life did start from two people, a male and a female, and they were just able to trace it all the way back, and it's been proven that it just started. Have you guys heard about that?
I haven't heard that new discovery, but I know that the DNA research was basically broken down to there's a genetic connection within all human. I want to say the science, human
Species.
Yeah, human species. So it doesn't surprise me that they found that, because number one, all the evidence for the Bible being accurate is overwhelming. So once you buy into the biblical authority or the Bible's worldview of how the world began, All I believe is that the evidence in years to come will reinforce the Christian biblical worldview. I don't think true science will ever contradict true science, not interpretive science, which evolution is. It's interpretation of the facts. But true science, I think, will never contradict the simple Bible stories that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the call, bro.
Hey, thanks for the call, Ben. Did you have something else to say?
No, that was it.
Oh,
Thank
appreciate
you,
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Unshakable Live. Welcome to Unshakable Live.
Good afternoon. This.
Padre,
Bye,
this is-
bye.
I had a question. Since God created the universe, right?
Yes.
You think He created other beings in other universes?
Yeah.
Other planets?
I think.
I have a question on that.
Yeah. The thing is that I think the fundamental issue becomes, and I want to deal with you here logically. Is that if the biblical worldview is true as a philosophical narrative that explains why and where and how, the question becomes, what does the Bible reveal about species? And the Bible has three categories of species. There's angels, which can reveal themselves as human entities or maybe aliens, and there's some weird looking angels according to the biblical description. And then there's humans created in the image of God. That is, we're able to relate to God intellectually, emotionally. We're like God creatively. We're able to rule over the universe like God rules over the universe. And then there's animals, okay, which seem to have a soul but not a spirit, in the sense that the spirit relates to God in personal relationship. If there is a fourth category of species called aliens, outside of these three categories that the Bible portrays, I would say that that person is stepping outside of what the biblical revelation says. Again, could God have done that? Did God do that? The only revelation that we have that God has given to us of himself and the works that he's done is Scripture. Everything outside of that would be conjecture, would be basically a step of faith that has no justifiable reason. That is, Scripture doesn't endorse it. It doesn't back it up. So again, we'd just be merely speculating and philosophizing with no basis.
I mean, unless if we do, find an alien and, set it up somewhere and say, this thing, whatever, in a spaceship crashed here. Here's a spaceship. Here's the alien.
Which could have been humans.
I would respond.
Which could have been humans from past history.
But if you find a spaceship and stuff like that, it's going to be very hard to do that thing. The thing is, in reality, I don't know. I don't know if I would disagree with what Jack's saying, but God really hasn't revealed that to us. Like if He's created other. What the Bible seems to suggest to us is that we're the center of God's attention.
Yes.
And like he was saying, when people talk about aliens and stuff like that, if we look, like some of the angels that are described in the Bible, if they manifest and stuff, I'm pretty sure some people nowadays would think they're aliens and stuff like that.
Well, the thing is that pre-flood, it seems to be that the technology upon the earth is very sophisticated. And you got to remember, from Noah's flood until now, based on a biblical chronology, is really about somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 years. So if man in 4,000 to 5,000 years has advanced technologically, okay, and pre-flood it seems that men live longer, so their brain capacity seems to be wider. Everything about the human machine biologically seems to be more sophisticated, and so pre-flood. They built. There's a lot of stuff going on, and so again, even after the flood, you got the Tower of Babel. So there seems to be evidence that even after the flood, that civilizations have had technology that almost eludes the fact that there was even electricity, and So I guess what I'm trying to say is that even if we find spaceships outside of this, planet Earth, it doesn't mean that historically. We're the first people to arrive to the moon, because we don't know what the pre-flood civilizations were like. but we do know that they were way more physically and intellectually sophisticated and closer to creation than we were.
To my knowledge, and I don't think we're going to stick to this topic too long, but to my knowledge, current alien research is not really into finding advanced beings. It's like really looking for microbes and bacteria and things like that are not alien, not from Earth.
Yes.
So they're not looking for advanced beings, to my knowledge, currently. But so let's continue with the cosmological argument. Can you go back to this page right here? There's two premises and a final conclusion. The first premise is everything that had a beginning had a cause. Second premise is the universe had a beginning, and the conclusion is therefore the universe had a cause. If you can follow that, and if people don't like too much like dogmatism, you can even say it appears as probably everything that had a beginning had a cause. It seems like the universe had a beginning, therefore probably the universe had a cause. So we're going to be talking about this issue right now. How can we be pretty certain that the universe had a cause?
Well, let me just clear something. I think the premise that everything that has a beginning has a cause is a definite statement. It's not a probable statement.
Yeah.
Everything that had a beginning has a cause. And
that's from our scientific observations.
Yes. So we cannot have probability in that. So the real question is, does the universe have a beginning? And what we're arguing today for our viewers, that the universe, based on science, let's throw the Bible to the side, based on science, I don't even need to use the Bible to come to this philosophical conclusion. It shows that. And this is the acronym we want to present to you today. We want you to think about this word surge, S-U-R-G-E. And the S stands for the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, we would argue proves that the Earth was not eternal. The universe is not eternal. The U stands for the universe is expanding.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the theory that Einstein discovered, that the universe is expanding, which assumes something. We'll talk about that. The R stands for
radiation from the Big Bang.
The radiation that we have found through COBE, the satellite that NASA put up, $20 million project. The radiation that showed that there was an explosion, which basically justified the Big Bang theory.
I think this is one of the interesting ones, because when they came up with the theory of the Big Bang, they assumed if the Big Bang happened, there must be radiation.
Yes.
They hadn't even found radiation.
Not only radiation, but galaxy seeds.
Yeah.
Basically, in the radiation, there had to been these particles, we call them galaxy seeds, kind of like how does Geisler define, like wavelengths? In a sense that demonstrate that there was an explosion, which the radiation proves, because that's the heat that came from the explosion. But then these particles that basically proves that there was this Big Bang kind of explosion from nothing into something. And according to the theory of relativity, time, space, and matter are all expanding together. It's not like the Earth and matter is expanding in space. They're all expanding together. And the farther a galaxy is, in far as what's the word I'm looking for? And proportionally to the Earth, the faster it's moving away from us. There is undeniable facts, according to scientists, secular, agnostic, religious, that the universe is expanding, and most likely there was a Big Bang.
And the whole thing with time, space, and matter, that it's that they came to the conclusion that these things had a beginning. Because what some scientists like to do, and this is kind of the way to go around it, that scientists they go, okay, if we give an infinite amount of time and we get an infinite amount of chance, then something will come about to be.
Yes.
And some scientists go that way. But the whole point is that you can't have an infinite amount of time because time had a beginning.
Yes.
It's impossible. So you're limited now.
Yes.
So they try to work within these limits.
And then the second question is, it's not scientifically and philosophically credible to say just because you have infinite amount of time and no matter or energy basket cases who need something to help them with their guilt and emotional pains. That's how ridiculous and absurd
And
that
the
type
thing
of logic
is
becomes.
that we need all three of them together. They're
Co-relative.
codependent, actually. You can't have time.
Well, let's talk about the acronym. The G in the acronym SURGE, the S or dynamic. Beginning, because there's no way the Earth could have been here infinite time-wise, which is a contradiction, and the second law being operative. Even atheist scientists have said that you cannot build a philosophical system of for the world being a steady state, because the law of second thermodynamics, it says that all matter and energy is moving towards disorder, entropy, and decay. Thermodynamics, things are becoming, they're melting away in a sense. Matter is melting away. You can't have an infinite system if matter and energy is in a state of decay. It would have already been infinitely regressed and gone.
We wouldn't be able to speak from this point of view. But
and then
great galaxy seed, and then the last one
is Einstein's
theory of general relativity.
General relativity, which basically says, in a nutshell, the universe, that is time, space, and matter, is expanding. If something's expanding, it means that it expanded from a center point. It had a beginning.
And that's the problem with the whole eternal view, is that if the universe is expanding and you're saying it's eternally expanding, you wouldn't be able to say, okay, where is it expanding from? Like, how is it? Like, you're just lost in it, you know? Because if something starts expanding from this point and it goes, I mean, you can trace it back and go, okay, it came from a certain point.
Yeah.
But if you're now at a state where it's expanding, you can't even go back to a certain point because it's
well, the problem happens is that astronomers are able to trace it back to its point. According to a naturalistic worldview, I mean, if you believe in special creation, that creation could have been in 6 days, 60 weeks, or 60 months, or 60 years. But from a naturalistic perspective, they're able to look at the universe based on the speed it's expanding, the distance of galaxies, and other planetary systems, and basically deduce, based on observation, a time estimate. And the time estimate is, it can't be an infinite expansion, because it would have blown up. I mean, think about it. How can something expand infinitely? That means expansion demands philosophically that there be a beginning.
And to say that it's eternally doing this is to deny the law of causality.
No, the system, the planetary system, the universe would collapse on itself if it was infinite.
But at the same time, there's you guys are talking about the universe expanding. There's also some people will as a means to get away from saying that the universe could still be eternal, is to say that there's an oscillating universe, that the universe expands and contracts and continues to expand and contract. Is there anything that you guys read about that? Because
Absolutely.
that's also a thing that you'll have
Well,
to
that's
address.
what Einstein, basically, in order to stick to his eternal theory, he said, okay, it's expanding and contracting. But the only problem is most scientists have stepped away from that, because if it contracts, the universe would fall back on itself. And secondly, they've never seen the universe contract. All they see is expanding, so that would be a hypothesis. It's taking a step of faith and saying, okay, well, in order to justify that we've always been here, we've never had a beginning, okay, we're going back and forth, back and forth. And that would negate the law of thermodynamics.
And
The
again,
law of thermodynamics says that the universe, as it's expanding, is moving towards disorder and entropy. So it would have to literally create itself and override the law.
And one of the things is even to say that there's no evidence for this. It's known as the cosmic rebound theory, but there's no evidence for it, and there's no evidence for this multiple bang.
Yes.
There's evidence for one bang.
Yes.
The Big Bang, which we would call, but there's no evidence for multiple bangs occurring.
We're coming to a close here. And basically, what is our heart today? Ancient we're here to say that it takes more faith as far as a leap in the dark. It takes more brainless belief in something that you say as far as the universe came about by no cause. And of course, some people will say, well, who caused God? The law of causality says that anything that had a beginning has a cause. If God, by definition of his name, is a transcendent eternal being, it means he had no beginning. He is not bound by the law of causality. He created the law of causality. He's the cause for the effect of the universe. And what's our point today is to say that this God, who's the cause, loves you. He created you. You're a reflection of his being. And he has not created you for this evil, unpredictable, chaotic world. He's created you to live in a world that reflects his nature, peace, love, and joy. And the very fact that people know something's wrong with this world says that they have an understanding of the right kind of world. The fact that you know that there shouldn't be AIDS and genocide and evil says to me philosophically that you have an understanding of how the world should be. Where did you get that understanding from? How do you know a stick is crooked if you have no understanding of a straight stick? Because you were created in God's image, so you have a sense of goodness, goodness of creation, goodness of humanity, how people should really act, how the world should really be. Little babies should not be dying. People should not have cancer. There should not be murder. There should not be rape. You should not have to struggle with your bills and worry about economics all the time. So this says that there's something in you that longs for eternity, a place where God's nature is reflected perfectly. And we're here to tell you that Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, came to restore the world creation, and he came to restore you so that you can spend time with him in an eternal state, an infinite state. No more pain, no more crying, no more worry, no more misery. He extends his hand to you. He's the cause of this effect called the universe. He's your Papa, Kubabade. And he's calling you to use your mind and to use your heart to make a decision to walk with him. This life is a test. Will you get an A by trusting in him, using your mind, discovering him, learning more about him? Or will you get an F by denying him so that you can live for sinful pleasure that in the end is only going to burn you anyways? Because God knew what he was talking about when he said, don't jump off a building. The law of gravity will kill you. When God